Hello, everyone, and welcome to New Haven Professional Hockey, a 75th anniversary celebration. I'm your host, Kevin Tennyson, and on this program, we're going to take a walk back in time and look at the long and storied history of pro hockey here in the Elm City. The 2001-2002 season not only sees the return of the New Haven Knights for their second campaign in the United Hockey League, but it also marks 75 years since the first pro hockey team played here in New Haven. New Haven's professional hockey history dates back 75 years to 1926-27 when the New Haven Eagles took flight. The Eagles played 17 seasons in the Canadian American and American Hockey League, as well as part of one season in the Eastern Hockey League before ceasing operations during World War II in 1943. 2 seasons later, 1945-46, the New Haven Ramblers joined the American Hockey League as the top farm club of the New York Rangers. The Ramblers played 5.5 seasons before ceasing operations on December 10, 1950. In 1951-52, after one season without hockey, the Eastern League returned to the Elm City as the New Haven Tomahawks hit the ice and made it all the way to the Eastern Hockey League Finals before falling to the Johnstown Jets. The following year, the New Haven Nutmegs of the Eastern Hockey League were the home team at the New Haven Arena and finished in 3rd place. The Eastern League did not operate in 1952-53, and neither did New Haven. The Eastern League was back in operation for 1954-55, and so was the Elm City as the New Haven Blades began play, and thus started the golden era of New Haven hockey. The Blades played 18 seasons in the Eastern Hockey League and won New Haven's only pro hockey championship in 1955-56, as well as being Eastern Hockey League runner-ups in 1959-60, 1960-61, and 1970-71, and also winning a total of 3 division titles before moving to Springfield for the 1972-73 season, where they were now known as the New England Blades. 1972-73 marked the return of the American Hockey League after a 21-year absence to the Elm City as the New Haven Nighthawks took flight at the newly built New Haven Veterans Memorial Coliseum. The Hawks played 20 seasons in the American Hockey League, won 2 division titles, and were Calder Cup runner-ups 4 times in 1974-75, 1977-78, 1978-79, and also in 1988-89. The Nighthawks' final season was 1991-92. The 1992-93 season was the one and only year for the New Haven Senators, who struggled on the ice as the top farm club of the expansion Ottawa Senators, who also had a difficult inaugural season. The summer of 1993 saw the Connecticut Coasters of Roller Hockey International take to the Coliseum floor for one exciting season. In 1997-98, after a 4-year absence, the American Hockey League returned to the Coliseum as the Beast of New Haven began play as the top farm team for the Florida Panthers and the Carolina Hurricanes, which happened to be the transplanted Hartford Whalers franchise. The Beast operated for 2 seasons. After another full year without hockey, the 2000-2001 season brought the New Haven Knights and the United Hockey League to the Coliseum. The Knights finished with the 3rd best record in the United Hockey League and treated their fans to an exciting playoff drive that ultimately ended in the UHL Eastern Conference Finals. Certainly a major accomplishment for any expansion franchise. Right wing Babe Dye played 11 seasons in the National Hockey League with the Toronto St. Pats, Chicago Blackhawks, New York Americans, and Toronto Maple Leafs. Babe led the NHL in scoring twice, in 1922-23 with 38 points, and 1924-25 with 37 points. In 1920-21, he led the NHL in goals scored with 33. The NHL played a 44-game schedule during those seasons. On November 13, 1929, the New York Americans traded Babe to the New Haven Eagles for George Mascar, who had spent the 1928-29 season in New Haven. Babe played 34 games for the Eagles, scoring 11 goals and 4 assists for 15 total points. He played 6 games in the National Hockey League in 1930-31 with the Toronto Maple Leafs before retiring with NHL career totals of 202 goals, 44 assists for 246 points in 202 games. Babe Dye is a member of the Hockey Hall of Fame. Defenseman right wing Norm Shea played 2 seasons in the NHL with the Boston Bruins and Toronto St. Pats. Norm also played for the New Haven Westminsters in 1922-23 and the New Haven Bears in 1923-24, both teams which were in the U.S. Amateur Hockey Association. On October 18, 1926, Norm was claimed on waivers by the New Haven Eagles from the Toronto St. Pats. Norm played an important part in the Eagles' first-place finish in the Can-Am League that year with a record of 18 wins and 14 losses in 32 games played. The Eagles lost the championship in 4 games to the Springfield Indians that season. Norm played the following 2 seasons with the Philadelphia Arrows, then finished his career back in New Haven with the Eagles in 1929-30. Jumpin' Jackie, Jake Forbes, played 7 full seasons in the NHL as well as part of 6 others. In 1921-22, while with the Toronto St. Pats, he was suspended for the entire season for not accepting contract terms. Traded to the Hamilton Tigers for 1922-23, he led the National Hockey League in games played for the next 5 seasons and led the league in wins in 1924-25 with 19. In 1925-26, Jake's rights were transferred to the New York Americans after the NHL club purchased the Hamilton franchise. In 1928-29, Jake was assigned to the Americans' top farm club, the New Haven Eagles, where he played for the next 3 seasons. Jake played 111 games for the Eagles in the Can-Am League. He also played 210 games in the National Hockey League with a lifetime 2.76 goals against average. Defenseman Frank Beisler played for the New Haven Eagles in 1934-35 and played there for the next 4 seasons. Frank was also the first Connecticut-born hockey player to play in the National Hockey League when he played for the New York Americans. Frank's son, Paul Beisler, joins me now. Welcome, Paul.
Thanks, Gary. It's a pleasure to be here.
Now, your father, Frank, has a long history in hockey, particularly in New Haven hockey. Tell us a little bit about that.
Okay, he was born in 1910 in Hartford, moved to New Haven with his father, who was a funeral director on State Street, played for Cross, played for New Haven amateur teams, and turned pro in 1933 with Hershey, and then came to New Haven in 1934, and between 34 and 38, he was up and down between the New Haven Eagles and the New York Americans of the National Hockey League.
Okay. Now, he also did some coaching.
Yes, he coached New Haven teams, he coached in Springfield, he coached in Buffalo, and he coached in Syracuse, and he also coached the new entry in 1954, the New Haven Blades.
Now, he won a Calder Cup with the team in Buffalo.
Buffalo, yes. He won a championship in 1940. I have to look at my notes. In 1947, he won the championship with Baltimore. And in 1944, he won with Buffalo Bisons.
Now, he was a good friend of the legendary Eddie Shore.
Yes, he and Eddie Shore became very good friends and were defense partners in Springfield, in Buffalo, and in Syracuse, and also with the New York Americans.
Now, after he coached the New Haven Ramblers in '51, he got involved with the New Haven Blades. How did that come about?
Well, he was up in Springfield, up in Syracuse, New York. We were in Syracuse. In 1954, his father died. And so my father had decided to come back to New Haven to take over the funeral home. And at the same time, there was a new entry in the Eastern Hockey League that Nate Podoloff was forming. He asked my father to coach him. So my father agreed and decided not to take any pay, but he took stock and consequently was a minority owner in the team.
Now, your father had a hand in bringing Don Perry to New Haven. How did that come about?
Pretty interesting story that actually Don Perry related to me this past summer is that in 1954, Don Perry was out of hockey and had no intention of coming back. And my father contacted him and asked him, said, Don, come down and play this year and be a player coach and then take over the team next year. Well, he did it, and he agreed, and Don was involved in hockey for playing in the American Hockey League, coaching in the National Hockey League, and scouting for 45 years. So.
Now, there was an article I read in some of the old papers I went through that mentioned your father and another gentleman as being two of the toughest fighters to ever fight in the National Hockey League.
Yeah, that was an article in the Hartford. I think Keyes was a sports writer, and he said that the two best fighters ever to play in the National Hockey League were Muzzy Patrick and Frank Beisler.
Now, New Haven's got 75 years worth of hockey history. There's an awful lot of great players that have come through New Haven, including your father. You know, a lot of towns may not have this kind of history.
That's true. I mean, this is something that you know, we should, as New Havenites, we should be very proud that we have this history going back to 1926.
Yes.
And continues to the present day with the New Haven Knights.
New Haven Knights had a pretty good inaugural season this year, Paul.
Absolutely, and I've got season tickets, and it was disappointing not to see more people out there, but
Yes.
If you see this, go down and watch them because it's good hockey.
It's really good. Paul, thanks for being on the show.
Thank you.
There are few people in the world of hockey who exemplify success and command the respect of management, players, and fans alike. Emile Francis is one of those people. An outstanding individual and complete professional, Francis has spent more than 40 years in the game of hockey as a player, coach, general manager, and president. Before Emile was famous as a head coach with the New York Rangers and St. Louis Blues and as president of the Hartford Whalers, he was a darn good goaltender. Emile began his playing career with the Philadelphia Falcons of the Eastern Hockey League in 1942-43. He played in the NHL with the Chicago Blackhawks in 1946-47 and 1947-48. In 1948-49, Emile played 49 games for the New Haven Ramblers of the American Hockey League, and then 68 games the following season for the New Haven Ramblers. He also played for the New York Rangers from 1948 through 1952. Emile finished the last 7 years of his playing career in the Western Hockey League. Emile Francis is a member of the Hockey Hall of Fame. Defenseman Jack Lancian broke in with the 1946-47 New York Rovers of the Eastern Hockey League. Jack then played for the New Haven Ramblers of the American Hockey League in 1947-48, 48-49, and 49-50, and was an important part of the Ramblers' playoff teams. Jack also played for the New York Rangers of the National Hockey League from 1946 through 1951. Jack spent the final 10 years of his playing career in the Western Hockey League. Defenseman Joe Dessin spent several seasons in the American Hockey League and also the Eastern Hockey League. In 1951-52, Joe played for the New Haven Tomahawks in the Eastern League. The Tomahawks faced the Johnstown Jets in the EHL Finals. During one of those games, Dessin drew a flagrant penalty, and referee Mickey Slowick motioned for him to take a seat in the penalty box. Without another word, Slowick turned his back on Dessin, skated over to the off-ice officials, and announced the penalty. Dessin slowly moved towards the box, then changed direction, heading towards Slowick. Without warning, Dessin cross-checked Slowick in the back, flipping the referee into the seats. Both benches emptied, and fists and sticks were flying. A policeman stepped out onto the ice and arrested Dessin, who spent the night in jail for starting a riot. The next day, Dessin was suspended from the Eastern Hockey League forever. This is a true story. The man seated next to me is no stranger to hockey fans and entertainment fans in the greater New Haven area. Ron Romer played center for the New Haven Nutmegs in 1952-53 and also played 3 seasons for the New Haven Blades, including their 1955-56 Eastern Hockey League championship team. Ron, welcome to the show.
Kevin, thank you. Hi, everybody. It's nice to see you again. We haven't gotten together for a Gab Fest since Tom Colney night.
It's been a few years now.
And it's been a while. I happened to call Tommy and delivered the tape that you guys gave me to give to him. It was kind of humorous because I called for my brother's house. He lives in the same little town up about 100 miles north of Toronto called Collingwood. Ray Crew, I think, is from Collingwood as well. And I said, is this number 9 for the Nighthawks? And there was a little pause in his end of it. And he said, yes. I said, this is number 9 from the New Haven Blades. He says, hi, Ronnie. Not too many people call him Ronnie, but he's allowed. Donnie Davidson did, too, and that goes back into the deep end of the New Haven Blades.
Yes.
Good guy.
What was it like in 55-56 when the Blades won the Cup in the Eastern League?
Well, it was an interesting time of life because I don't think New Haven had won a championship for quite a long time. And I can sit here in 2001 and tell you that it's, as far as I know, the only championship team that New Haven has ever had.
That's correct, Ron.
So it was kind of a glory time. Television was not as strong as it is now, so we were able to draw quite well. And of course, New Haven, like any other town, is dependent upon you winning a lot of hockey games.
Sure.
And we had some pretty tough guys in the club. Rick Alpert on defense, Don Perry on defense, and Don was my roommate.
Okay.
So I'd go out on the ice and I'd see somebody coming to Indian Joe Nolan, and I'd say, "I got you, Nolan. I got your number." And he would go like this at me, and I would holler for number 2. Don, come and help me. So it was a good time for the players. We didn't make an awful lot of money. People said, "That's all the money you made?" And I said, "Well, Badalop didn't pay me enough to get home. That's why I stayed here."
I see. What was it like with the Nutmegs that year?
Well, Kevin, it was an interesting team. I came here out of Cleveland training camp, and I had hurt my knee in Detroit in their training camp, and they sent me down to Cleveland to get better. I arrived here on crutches, and I lasted about half a season and got traded to Washington Lions, who were a pretty darn good hockey club. It was interesting because we had about 5 guys on the Nutmegs from my hometown in Hamilton. Ray Ross was here, Doogie Taylor was here, Bobby Shropshire played goal, because Cleveland found that Hamilton was a hotbed for recruiting. Much the same as the Eastern League, you rode buses or you rode rental cars to get around. You had to fight the elements as well as the opposing fans when you were on the road. And dating back to 51 or so was a long time ago, 50 years.
Yes.
But I remember a lot of the fellas, Joe Inglesby, Frank Toyota, Ott Heller from the Rangers played here, Ray Ross, just a good bunch of guys.
Now, the Blades had a lot of good players on that team, the mid-50s there, Claude Beaulieu, John Sherban, and such.
Yeah, the CBS line was our number 1 attack line. Dad McPherson was here. I had the pleasure of centering the 3rd line. We didn't have a big roster of players, Kevin. We went basically with 3 lines, 4 defensemen, and the goaltender.
That's it.
There's no 20 guys on the roster. If you didn't feel good, you played anyway.
Yeah.
So Perry, the coach, and they go at it, and the tough guys, they go at it in practice, and they still do. Of course, no helmets.
Yeah.
I found that even the I wouldn't say timid players, the less fortuitous hockey players go at it now because they have the protection of the face mask and the helmet. And I'll tell you something, Kevin, and this is the truth, we never had an instance of concussions and head injuries that the players have now. And I think it's a pretty simple thing, is that the helmets come out a little bit on either side of the head. You lose your peripheral vision.
Yeah.
You can't see what's coming.
It looks like the sticks are up nowadays, too, because of some of the protection.
Well, yeah, that's the reason for it, too, is because even the timid, if there are that line of hockey, I'm Don Perry, why did I have to be anything else other than timid?
Right.
But these give you a false sense of security.
Yeah.
Why would a guy get in a fight and punch another guy in the helmet?
True.
I see somebody broke their hand last week, and I said, what in the world? So it's an interesting concept.
Yeah. Now, the New Haven has had quite a history of hockey, 75 years worth, Eagles, Blades, Nighthawks, and a lot of other teams in between. Really, there's a lot of very, very fine players that came through New Haven.
Yeah, if you look in the newspaper now during the middle of the winter, at one time I remember when I was playing junior in Brandon, the Brandon Wheat Kings, and we went to the Memorial Cup against Montreal, there was the National Hockey League, the American Hockey League, United States Hockey League, Omaha, Gordie Howe was there then, and the Eastern League, and that was it. And I think now across the country there are 25 or so leagues.
Yes. There's a lot of different teams. There's many more teams in each league, too.
Yeah, and the newer teams are mostly in the South and the West. You know, down in Texas where they had a team one time. They're at Tulsa at one time they had a team. These guys are all back playing hockey and out as far out to the West Coast where there was a league, Pacific Coast League at one time. But I'll tell you, I don't know where they get all the players. I mean, I can't pronounce half the names in the National Hockey League. The Finns are here, the Czechs are here, the Russians are here.
Sure are.
Well, I could tell you a story about the Russian. We had a chance to broadcast, WELI did, when I was doing the play-by-play for the Nighthawks, the first exhibition game against the Russians. And I had the fella, I believe his name was Wilson, who came out of CBS in St. Louis and went on to be the play-by-play guy with the Boston Bruins. They were going to broadcast half a dozen games of the Russians and the Bruins. So he came up to do color with me, and they had names like Protoshenko, Kazimov, Karlamov, and all these names. And at the end of the first period, this fellow Wilson said to me, he said, "Gee, great job." He said, you do those Russian names really good. I said, well, a lot of experience, you know, as a player and whatnot. Well, I got into Montreal for the National Hockey League meetings at the end of the season with Parker McDonald, and I was sitting with Gump Worsley, you know, a buddy of mine, and this fella came in, foul-mouthed he was, just terrible, swearing at me. And he says, I complimented you on how well you did with the Russian names, and you just smiled and nodded and said thank you. He said, you didn't tell me you were married to a Russian. And I said, well, you never asked.
See how that works?
It was a lot of fun to do the play-by-play with the guys. For an ex-player to do the play-by-play is really quite an easy job because you can anticipate where the puck has to go.
Now, this year, 2001, the New Haven Knights had a pretty darn good inaugural season. What did you think of them, Ron?
Competitive.
Yes.
Within the league itself. They've set up certain structural rules where you can pay just so much money and you have to have X number of rookies so you can balance that with players with experience. Interesting concept. I just hope that they can continue. Where they're going to get a lot of help if they're going to is they have a new sports editor for the New Haven paper over the last year or so.
Yeah.
If you can get the newspaper to put you on the front page, not the back page,
Right.
it's going to help an awful lot because they cover it pretty well on TV. Difficult part is being in between Boston and New York. And there's two teams in New York. Well, a team and a half. Actually, one team made up of the two.
Yeah.
You know, that's what I call them, the New York Strangers.
Yeah.
Because I haven't.
They've had a tough time lately.
You know, when Messier came back, I thought, well, the Messiah is back. It didn't help that much.
I wished he'd never left, but that's another story.
Yeah, way back in Gretzky and all that. So it's difficult to draw people in New Haven. The television is now a major factor in whatever you do. They open their season and they're competing with the New York Giants, and they end their season and they're competing with the playoffs in the National Hockey League. Yeah. So it's difficult for all the guys involved, and they are not at the management level of the other pro clubs.
Sure.
Lou Payne and all these guys, they mean well, and I hope it stays with them.
Well, if anybody could do it here, I think it's them. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, it's kind of the. I was surprised. I thought when they had named the team, I knew that Kansas City had the Blades, and they have had for a long time. But whoever came up with the idea of calling them the Blaze, I thought that would have really done it up good.
Yeah, that could have gone over well.
You can't resurrect a dead body, though.
That's it. Hey, Ron, it's been a pleasure having you on. Nice to see you again.
Kevin, thank you very much for the invitation.
Claude Beaulieu played center for the New Haven Blades for 8 seasons starting in 1954-55 and also played 3 years for the Long Island Ducks. Claude, welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Claude, you played on the championship team on the Blades, 1955-56. What was that like?
Well, it was nice. I mean, that was my second year here in New Haven, and Perry took over as a coach, and we had a good team, and we were lucky to win the whole thing.
The CBS line, you were on that. Each player on that line had over 100 points that year.
Yeah, well, we were doing pretty well. We used to pass the puck around, and we were fortunate John Shaban could put the puck in the net. You know, he had, I think, 50 goals that year.
Yeah.
And I think Ivan, the left wing, had quite a few,
Yeah.
maybe 60. So it was a good season for us.
You had some pretty tough customers on the team, too, including Don Perry.
Yeah, he was one of the best. Yeah, yeah, he was very tough physically. Well, he was young too then, and he was, but nobody bothered him too much.
No, I've heard nobody wanted to bother him at all.
No, not too many people. No,
Now, Claude, what was it like playing at the old New Haven Arena?
it was tough. The ice was very soft in the old
Really?
New Haven Arena. Yeah, well, they had public skating
Okay.
on the Sunday afternoon, but it was our home ice, so we had
Sure.
the big edge on that. Nobody wanted to come in New Haven and play.
The fans were really behind you guys.
Oh yeah, the fans were. Yeah, they were very strange fans. They were good for the home team, but the visiting team didn't want to.
Didn't want to know anything.
Didn't want to know anything about them. No.
Now, you finished up for 3 years with the Long Island Ducks. Now, you won a championship there also.
Yes, we did. Yeah, I was there the third year we won. But we always had a good team there. John Muckler always had a good team there. And then the last year I was there, we were fortunate to go all the way.
Now, was Don there on a couple of those teams with you?
Yeah, Don was there that year, and then he stayed there a couple more years after that. And they had good teams at that time too. Well, he was the big guy on the team,
John Brophy on those teams?
Brophy was on that team too. Yeah,
He's a tough customer.
yeah, he was something different. You can ask anybody that knows him from.
Goaltender Dave Hainsworth is the only man to play for the New Haven Blades, the New Haven Nighthawks, and the New Haven Senators. Dave came up with the Blades in 1968-69 and played there for their final 4 seasons. Dave also made stops in Baltimore, Muskegon, and Phoenix before coming back to New Haven on the New Haven Nighthawks in the early to mid-1980s. Dave also played for the Senators in 1992-93, and Dave was also goaltender coach for the Nighthawks in the mid-80s. Dave, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you. Nice to be here.
Now, Dave, what was it like for you to come here at age 19 or 20 and play for the Blades?
I had a blast when I came down here. I was fresh out of junior up home, and I was 19 at the time. And, when I came down here, the people were just excellent to me. The players were decent, real nice guys. And we just had a ball on and off the ice at that point.
What was it like to play for Don Perry? Because Don Perry is a legend in hockey circles and certainly here in New Haven.
Don was a very honest coach, I think is a way to term it. If you showed up and you played for him every night, he was on your side and would do anything he could for you. And I think he had an awful lot of respect of everyone around the league. When I got here, he had just finished playing. I think he played the first 8 or 10 games with us and then retired after that with bad knees and what have you. But like I say, he always treated me very well, and I was really happy to be playing for him.
Now, what were some of the major rivalries for the Blades? I guess the Clinton Comets would be one.
Yeah, Clinton was always a thorn in our side. Clinton, Johnstown were the 2 toughest ones for us. My first year, we ended up 3rd in the league behind Clinton and Johnstown. Second year, we ended up 2nd behind Clinton and lost out to them in the Northern Finals. And that was the year we had 3 shutouts in a row. And then the next year, we beat them in the Northern Finals and then lost to Charlotte in the Southern Division.
Now, the year you had the 3 shutouts in a row, was the game after those 3, was there a goal that went in on the side of the net possibly or something?
I say there was, yeah. What happened is we went back, the 7th game was in Clinton. We went back up there to play. It was 5 minutes into the game, and the referees had just checked the nets. And someone had shot the puck from the left-hand boards. I didn't even play the shot because I knew it was wide of the net. And went around to play it coming out the other side, and all of a sudden it's sitting in the middle of the net, and the referee proceeded to repair a hole in the side of the net at the time and say that it went in through the front. So we had a little argument.
Just one of those things, I guess.
It was one of those things at that point, yes. And
now, you, with the Blades, played the Charlotte Checkers in 1970-71, I believe, in the Eastern Hockey League Final. What was that like?
Charlotte had a very strong team at the time. First of all, their rink was a lot bigger than ours. They were used to the bigger ice down there, and at that point, we were only carrying in the Northern Division, or our team at least, was only carrying 4 defensemen, 1 goaltender, and 9 forwards, which is the bare minimum. And they had, I think, an extra in each position, which factored in after a while. At the end of a long season like that, it kind of hurts you to be playing against an overstocked team anyway.
Sure. Now, with Muskegon in the International League, you guys made it to the conference final or the final?
Yes, we made it to the finals one year. I'm sorry, the semifinals one year, and lost out to Saginaw at the time, where Don Perry was coaching, and Dennis DeRozier and a few guys that I had played against back here. So they had a pretty good team up there that year.
A lot of history in New Haven, 75 years worth, Dave. There's a lot of former players that are still in the area. A lot of great players have played here. Just a lot of history.
Yeah, I think when you go all the way back through the American League and that, and there was an awful lot. Emile Francis played in here. I think you can go back through a list of names that's really never ending. The one thing I found here is that the fans were always very nice to the players. They were always, you always knew you were playing at home because they supported you and treated you very well. And I think it's a plus that a lot of the guys have stayed in the area here.
Yeah, there's really a lot of guys in the area, and like I said, once again, a lot of really, really good players have come through New Haven, and you're one of them, Dave, and I thank you for being on the show today.
Well, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Goaltender Jim Armstrong played for the New Haven Blades in 1963-64 and the following season before being traded to the Long Island Ducks. Jim made some stops including Toledo and Seattle before winding up back with the Blades in 1971-72. Jim, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
Now, Jim, what was it like back in 63-64 playing for the Blades?
It was a fun time most of the time. We played a lot of games in quite a few nights. We played 72 games in 20 weeks, which is a very hectic schedule. We used to play 4 games a week, basically. And at the time, there was only 13 players on a team, so 1 goaltender, and the rest were either 3 defensemen and 3 lines. Go from there.
Now, how about the goalie mask? Did you use one back then or no?
I never used one till the last year I played, unfortunately. Some people say I should have, but it really was, at that time they weren't really perfected that well, and a lot of people were getting hurt wearing them and by not.
Now, was it Jacques Plante was the first one that wore a mask?
Jacques Plante and then Eddie Joachim, I think once he started, then everybody started it. But the first masks were very, very crude, and they weren't made that well.
Now, I got to ask you a question. There's a famous picture from 1971-72, and I guess it was the final New Haven Blades game of all time. It was the 72 Eastern Hockey League semifinals against Syracuse, Game 6. There's a picture of you on top of the referee, and I guess Blaine Reidman is being held by 2 guys in the corner. What was that all about?
Well, Blaine was in a fight with one of the Syracuse players, probably one of the Fergusons, because they seemed to be fighting all the time. And one of the linesmen was actually punching Blaine in the back of the neck and the head and that type of thing, because there was no helmets, of course, at that time either. And I just really went to pull the linesman off him, and unfortunately I just ended up on top of him. And the picture is really, by that time I was actually laughing. The linesman was saying, "No, don't hit me, don't hit me." And by then I couldn't have hit him anyway. I was laughing so hard.
Yeah. Now, did they try to say that you had hit him to suspend you or something, or no?
They basically tried to, but the reporter that was there from the Register actually took sequence pictures, and they showed that the referee was actually hitting him, and I think he got suspended actually more. I probably got a couple game suspension, but he actually got suspended more than I did.
Now, that year, what was it like that last year, knowing that the Blades were going to move because the Nighthawks were coming in the following year? Was that something on the minds of the players?
It was. You were always hoping that you were going to be picked up by the new team coming in, but like always, when somebody new comes in, they don't really want anybody that's been involved in the situation where the Blades is, which was a rough and tumble type of league. They tried to promote the Nighthawks as a more skilled level of players, and at times they were, but at times they had to resort to what we used to do too.
Yeah, they did. Now, I see you have your Blades jacket on. This is from 72. Your number 1 on it. That looks very nice.
Thank you very much. That's what this jacket has been around. You wear it about once a year, and then everybody tries to steal it on me, so I have to put it away.
If I could run fast enough, I'd try, but I can't. So we'll have to leave it there. But what do you think of the New Haven Knights? They had a pretty good first season.
They had a pretty good first season. It's too bad they didn't get more turnout from the fans and that, but I think it might have taken that 1 year to get established, and they had a couple changes with call-ups and things like that, and people leaving the team, but that's going to happen. It doesn't matter where you are, whether it's baseball or hockey or football or anything right now. With any type of sport, they have the minor leagues and they have the upper leagues, and if somebody in one of the upper leagues needs a player, they're going to pull them up.
Sure. Well, Jim, I appreciate you being on the show, and I thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Kevin.
When you think of New Haven hockey pioneers, Nate Podoloff immediately comes to mind. He began his association with the New Haven Arena in 1926 when it was a partially built project that looked as if it may never have been completed. Nate, an engineer with a degree from Yale University, completed the building of the arena. He then took over the management building from 1927 through 1972 when it closed. As Mrs. Nathan Podoloff told me recently, the arena hosted every type of event you could imagine to adhere to Nate's policy of never a dark night at the arena. Nate and his brother Morris were among the pioneers that launched the American Hockey League in 1936. This group of men who owned their own arenas had teams that had participated in the Canadian American Hockey League, which began in 1926-27. The group not only wanted to assure multi-night events in their buildings, but also to consolidate within United States boundaries. Thus, the amalgamation with the International American Hockey League took place, and New Haven became one of 8 charter members of the American Hockey League, which over 60 years later is still going strong. Nate managed the arena during its entire existence and was treasurer of its many different hockey teams. If one man can be the hockey symbol for entire New Haven hockey, Don Perry is certainly that man. Don Perry began his pro hockey career in 1950-51 with the Boston Olympics of the Eastern Hockey League. Don played the next 3 seasons with the Springfield Indians, then also of the Eastern League. Don played a few games for Syracuse of the American Hockey League in 1952-53. At the start of the 1954-55 season, Don was not playing pro hockey. He was then contacted by former New Haven Eagle great Frank Beisler and subsequently signed on with the New Haven Blades. Don led the Blades as a player-coach to the city's only pro hockey championship when the Blades won the Eastern League Championship in 1955-56. Don spent 8 seasons in New Haven until he was traded to the Long Island Ducks in 1962 after a disagreement with New Haven management. The Ducks captured the Eastern Hockey League Championship in 1964-65, making that Don's second cup. In 1967-68, the New Haven Blades brought Don back as player-coach again until a knee injury ended his playing days in December of 1968. Don was head coach of the Blades until their demise after the 1971-72 season and led them to some of their most exciting moments during that time. Next up for Don was head coach of the Saginaw Gears of the International Hockey League, where his teams won 2 Turner Cups in 1976-77 and 1980-81. In 1981-82, Don returned to the Elm City as head coach of the New Haven Nighthawks. Later that season, Don made the National Hockey League as he became head coach of the Los Angeles Kings. Don coached in Los Angeles for 3 years. In 1987-88, Don returned again as head coach of the Nighthawks. Don spent many seasons after 1988 as a pro scout. Due to logistics and scheduling, we were unable to interview Don for this program. However, we hope to include an interview with him in an upcoming New Haven hockey video. Defenseman Ray Clearwater played 3 seasons for the New Haven Nighthawks from 1977 through 1980. Ray began his career in the Eastern Hockey League with the New Haven Blades in 1963-64 and played there for 3 seasons. Ray also made stops in the American League in Providence and Baltimore and also played 3 years for the Cleveland Crusaders of the World Hockey Association. Ray, welcome to the program.
Nice to be here, Kevin.
Ray, back in the 70s, the late 70s, New Haven Nighthawks versus Maine Mariners in the Calder Cup Finals. What was that like?
It was really an exciting part of my career. It was, at the end of my career, but really the first time in the American League that I'd been involved in. We won the Southern Division Championship, and we were in the finals against the Northern Division champion Maine Mariners, and unfortunately we lost both times, but I thought we gave a fairly good account of ourselves. We had a very good team, and it was pretty exciting hockey.
Just reaching the finals is an accomplishment in itself, and there were certainly a lot of good players on both teams.
That's for sure. I think if you'd go back and look at some of those rosters, the main roster and our roster, many players played in the National League, and probably this day and age there'd be more.
Parker McDonald, what kind of coach was he to play for?
Parker was pretty much of a player's coach. He really liked to, expected a lot from you, but always gave, for myself, when I played well and worked hard, I got a lot of ice time, and I had a pretty good personal relationship with Parker. We had a lot of fun together off the ice, and he was a great guy to play for.
Now, were you a player assistant coach in your last season, 79-80?
I was that, and so lots of times I would run practices and things like that. I always played a little bit near the end. I did some scouting on the other teams as well. So,
what was it like in the Eastern Hockey League when you broke in with the New Haven Blades?
it was pretty much of a chaotic league. It was very much like you'd see in the movie Slapshot. It really was. It was we had 13 players. The trainer was the spare goalie. We played with either 2 centermen and 4 defensemen, or 3 lines and 3 defensemen. So got lots of ice time, and many times when people were hurt, you played with 8, 9, 10 players, and it was an experience, believe me.
How did you enjoy the World Hockey Association?
That was, I'd say in my career, probably the first year I played in any city seemed to be kind of the best for some reason or other. I don't know why that was, but because the year I was in the Western Hockey League, I had ended up adopting my 2 children from Utah, and that was pretty exciting for me. And then in Cleveland, got a chance to play with Jerry Cheevers, one of the all-time great goalies, and he was the leader of our team, and he was just a fabulous guy to play in front of, and we had a really good year. We ended up going to the finals with New England, and I had a great year, and I really enjoyed myself.
I remember watching you on the Nighthawks. I remember Andre Dory was one of your defense partners. A lot of good players, a lot of good defensemen on that squad, such as Dean Turner, Tim Bothwell, and such.
It definitely was. I was just thinking on my way over that how many good players there were. I think it was my first or second year, I played with Mario Marois, and then he went right on to play for the Rangers, and then the year after I played with Andre, and he went to the Rangers. So this was pretty much kind of my position, was the old pro, teaching the kids how to play their position. I think that was an exciting time for me.
Nowadays, you're a scout for the New York Rangers organization. What does that entail?
Well, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of travel. I spend quite a bit of time in the United States, but I do cross over in the OHL, WHL, and QMJHL, and also usually 3 or 4 times over to Europe. So it's a lot of travel.
Have you gotten a chance to see any of the United Hockey League action? We have the New Haven Knights at the Coliseum now.
Unfortunately, I have not. I'm kind of there's no real reason except that I should, and but when I come home on a day off, it's usually not a night I want to go spend watching a hockey game.
You've seen enough.
Yeah. And we do have other people that cover the United League, and as far as that's concerned, so it would just be for entertainment, which I said, and that's something that usually if I have a chance, I will go up and see the Hartford Wolfpack play, because that's our farm team.
Right. And they did pretty well a couple of years ago.
Right, they did. They won the cup. So.
Now, your time with the Nighthawks, would you say you enjoyed that more than the Blades, or what was it like between the Coliseum and the arena?
Well, it was, I say, so much different. I was so much. It was one was the beginning, one was the end. So it was a lot different, and I really can't compare the two. I enjoyed both times, and it's very hard to compare.
I say the fans were very, very vocal at the arena.
That they were. There certainly were, and they were vocal. For us in the Coliseum, it was we had lots of nights where there was 7,000, 8,000 people, and it got pretty vocal there too. We had the one section that used to do a pretty good job of getting on the other team.
Oh, yes,
and
yeah, Section 14.
yeah, and it was, I think it was the what they used to call the Zoo 13 or something at the New Haven
Yes,
Arena.
yeah.
So
Yeah, always got to try to help the home team.
yeah, for sure.
Well, there's 75 years of hockey history here in New Haven, and Ray, you're a big part of it, and I've always enjoyed watching you play, and it's been my pleasure to have you on the show.
Well, thanks very much, Kevin. It was my pleasure to be here.
The following segment was originally recorded at the Beast of New Haven's Tom Colley Night in March of 1998. Joining me now is number 9, Tom Colley. What a nice ceremony tonight, Tom, put on by the Beast of New Haven.
I really appreciate what they did for me, and we were talking in the car on the way in from Hartford, and I said I really respect the Beast management for respecting that my number was retired here at one time and not allowing somebody else to wear it, and then bringing me back tonight and giving me an opportunity to come back where I played a lot of years, had a good time, and get to say thank you to the fans again.
Seemed like the fans really enjoyed the moment out there.
Well, probably not as much as me, but like I said, the reason I come back was for the fans. My life here was excellent. They treated me well, and I tried to put on a show for them, and the more they cheered, the harder I tried. So I think it worked both ways.
I remember watching you play back in the mid to late 70s, and the Nighthawks had a couple of teams that went to the finals against the Mariners. What was that like?
Well, it's always exciting when you're going to the finals, and we had some quality teams those 2 years you're talking about. We finally got the toughness that we needed to compete with the big bad Maine boys, and it was exciting hockey. We just didn't get it to the next level, and hopefully a team, maybe the Beast will get there and give the fans of New Haven a cup.
The fans are just waiting for that cup, and we hope the Beast of New Haven will get there. And they've been looking pretty well lately.
I haven't had a chance. I watch them on Ringside, actually, back in Canada. There's an hour show every week, and I got a chance to see some of the boys last week. And, you know, they're big, strong, fast kids, and, you know, if they can put it together as it looks like they are right now at this time of year and get hot goaltending, they could upset a few teams.
If they get a role in the playoffs, New Haven will really love them. Now, what have you been doing with yourself? You've been doing some coaching?
Yeah, I do. I coach a Tier 2 Junior A team back up home, and we ended up in first place this year, and we got put out by an 8th place team because they had a hot goalie. So, again, I hope that, you know, New Haven's goaltending is solid, and maybe they can upset some teams.
Now, your son plays hockey.
Well, yeah, I'm pretty proud of Kevin. Billy Stewart, who coaches St. John Flames, he coached Kevin last year. Ian McNeil, that plays with the Beast, he was in Oshawa with my son. Mark Savard, that plays for Hartford, he was in Oshawa, and he was a star in Oshawa. And I think the fans that have seen him play this year, he's a pretty nice hockey player.
How old is your son?
Just turned 19.
So he'll be going back to juniors for another year?
He's got another year left. He can be drafted this year, and I'm kind of hoping that he does. And if he doesn't, he's going to have to work harder next year.
Well, good luck in the future, Tom, and thanks for joining me today.
My pleasure. I just, again, thank all the people in New Haven for inviting me back, and it's been a great day.
Defenseman Eric Germain played for the New Haven Nighthawks starting in 1987-88 and was here for the next 3 seasons. Eric also made stops in the American League in Rochester and in Binghamton. Eric played for the Los Angeles Kings in the National Hockey League and also played some in the East Coast League and in the Central League. Eric played this season, 2001, with the New Haven Knights. Eric, how are you?
Good, very good, Kevin. Thank you.
Now, Eric, 1989, the Nighthawks going to the Calder Cup Finals. That was exciting for the fans. What was that like for the players?
I was probably one of my best experiences in hockey, where the fans just went crazy. We put like 7,000-8,000 screaming fans in the building, and we just were unbeatable at home. And we were playing great hockey, and we went where we weren't supposed to go. We went all the way to the Calder Cup final. We beat Sherbrooke, who had like a great team at the time. They had like the record in the season. They had over 100 points, and we beat them, and the place just went crazy. Well, I remember the signs, "Welcome to the Jungle," and the place was rocking. And in the national anthem, you could even hear anything. It was people just started screaming, and it was just it went through your body. It was just something you never forget.
Now, I believe it was Game 4 of that first series against Sherbrooke when there was a penalty called with 3 seconds left in the game, and Dave Pacine was awarded a penalty shot, and he scored, and the place went nuts.
Yeah, I remember that game very well. I think we were down 2-1, and Sherbrooke was in our building. They had like a 4-0 lead after halfway through the game. And I remember a fan started screaming behind the bench. Everybody was looking at him, you know, who's that guy? And coach told him to shut up. But then then it kind of worked. We started scoring some goals, and by the end of the second, we were down by 2 goals, and then down by 1 goal at the end of the third. And then I remember Peter Praisler making a great pass to center ice to break the puck out of our zone, and then we were attacking, but the game was practically over because the puck went in the corner and the game was over. But one of the defensemen, number 7, Luc Gauthier, panicked and he cross-checked the net, and the ref, Paul Dvorsky, didn't have a a choice but to call the penalty shot. And it was a really gutsy call on his part, but it worked for us. So Dave Pacine scored on the penalty shot, then the game went into overtime, and we scored, and the place just went nuts.
The place went bananas on that night. Now, that was a very good team. Rolly Melanson in goal, yourself on defense, Steve Richmond, John Miner, Bob Kadelsky up front with guys like Bob Logan, Sylvain Couturier, Hubie McDonough. It's a really, really good team.
Yeah, a very well-balanced team, and we were well coached. Rick Dudley was our coach, and we just came together at the right time. You know, we had a good combination of guys. We maybe underachieved during the season a little bit, especially at the end. We were kind of flat, but we just came back really strong in the playoffs. And I remember Alan May played a key role for us in the playoffs.
What was it like to play with the Kings in the National Hockey League?
Well, it was a great experience. I was only 21 at the time, and Probably a little bit intimidated, a little shy, and a little nervous. But the guys were such class acts, you know. They just, I remember Dave Taylor and those guys came and shook my hand and wished me good luck before the games. And it was, although I was nervous, I was, you know, you're on a little bit on, you're work on a high, you're on your adrenaline.
Yeah.
And you probably, you know, I did all right when I was up there, but it was definitely a great feeling.
Now, this past season, 2001, you played for the New Haven Knights. How did you like that?
That was fun. It was something fun to do. I was approached by Mike Palmateer, and I got to meet the coaching staff, and it worked out great for them to have a spear like me who had played before, and also for me, it was fun. It kept me in shape, you know, got me back in shape somewhat, and I got to play in front of my kids and my family, so that was, you know, it was some fun to do.
Yeah, it was nice to see you on the ice again.
Thank you.
Eric, thanks for being on the show. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thanks, Kevin.
If it was hockey in New Haven, Andy Paris was a man who had seen it. Andy's first job was ushering high school and Yale games at the New Haven Arena in 1940. After serving in the Navy during World War II, he resumed his post at the arena, ushering games for the New Haven Ramblers in 1945. Andy continued at the arena until its closing in 1972 and was one of the original rink rats. Andy then continued ushering at the New Haven Coliseum from its opening in 1972 through 1990. Andy and his wife Susan were friends to many people, including New Haven hockey players. Several times a week, for example, New Haven Blades players would have dinner at the Paris' home. Along with so many other fans, I became friends with Andy as we had many conversations at the Coliseum over the years about various subjects. When it came to New Haven hockey, Andy had seen them all. The scorers, the goons, the coaches, and several generations of fans. Some of Andy's favorites include Emile Francis, Jack Evans, Don Perry, Ron Romer, Kevin Morrison, Ken Baumgartner, and Billy O'Dwyer, to name just a few. Andy passed away several years ago, and his wife Susan passed away last year. They are both sorely missed by all of their extended New Haven hockey family. In 1992-93, our team was the New Haven Senators. Peter Shipman, who had saved New Haven hockey in 1991 when he purchased the Nighthawks franchise from the Los Angeles Kings and kept it in New Haven as an independent for 1991-92, is often vilified by many New Haven hockey fans. It is this program's position that it is wrong to hold Peter solely responsible for pro hockey leaving the Elm City in 1993. Certainly, he could have lobbied more for the Ottawa Senators, who wanted their farmhands to wear Senators jerseys to keep the Nighthawks name and logo, as that change definitely caused some drop in attendance. Blame hockey leaving New Haven in 1993, in part on people's perception of the city, unfinished renovations to the Coliseum, lack of corporate support, and an AHL league low 1,926 fans per game attendance. Over the 2 years he owned the franchise, Peter pumped over $1.4 million into it with little return. The Ottawa Senators were one of the most futile expansion teams in NHL history. They did not provide New Haven with much of a team on the ice, and it showed in the New Haven Senators' last place finish in their one and only struggling year of existence. If Peter Shipman had not purchased and kept the franchise in New Haven for 2 years, perhaps David Gregory and Paragon Sports do not bring the AHL back in 1997. Perhaps there are 8, 9, or 10 years without a hockey team. Perhaps the Coliseum would have been demolished and there never been the New Haven Knights last season. Who really knows? Let us thank Peter Shipman for the 2 seasons of hockey in New Haven he brought to us. In July 1993, 2 months after the New Haven Senators moved to Canada, a new roller hockey league called Roller Hockey International embarked on its inaugural season. The Connecticut Coasters, co-owned by the league and the New Haven Coliseum, began play. RHI eliminated the Blue Lines, had 5 skaters instead of 6 per shift, thereby making the floor more open to increase scoring. The Coasters, with local players such as T.J. Schatz and Berkeley Hoagland and player-coach Jim Magoo, finished the 14-game season with a record of 7 wins, 5 losses, and 2 ties. It appeared that the Coasters arrived too soon after the Senators departed, as attendance was extremely poor for the Connecticut Coasters' only season. In 1997-98, after 4 full seasons without hockey, the American Hockey League returned yet again to the Elm City. This time, the people running the franchise, Paragon Sports and David Gregory, brought us a unique part of our hockey history. Cleverly utilizing the gargoyles or beasties that adorn much of New Haven's historical architecture, and as legend has it, protect the fair citizens of New Haven, the Beast of New Haven was born. David Gregory clearly expanded the paradigm of team nicknames and logos, and also brought us 2 exciting years of American Hockey League action. Left wing Chad Cabana played for the Beast of New Haven in 1997-98 and also 98-99. Chad also played in the American League for Providence, Greensboro, and Carolina. Chad played last year for the New Haven Knights in the United Hockey League. Chad, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you very much.
Now, Chad, the American Hockey League, the Beast of New Haven, the rivalry between, say, the Hartford Wolfpack or the Springfield Falcons, what were those like?
There's a few battles. I notice the fans take notice of the rivalry more than we do, but like, for instance, the rivalry against Hartford was a scoreboard kind of rivalry, but that wasn't really my type of game.
Right.
I had more of a rivalry against Springfield, going up against a tougher team, tougher defense, and I always had to show up for those games.
They had a lot of guys that played really, really strong on Springfield.
Yeah, there was Gagnon. They had a few big D. They really had a tough core of defensemen. Their average height were probably about 6'4", 230. So basically it was a physical battle, and that's my type of game, and I was used more against those guys than Hartford.
Now the fans, I know, especially in New Haven, the fans always want to see hockey fights and such. When is the correct time, so to speak, in a hockey fight? Is there certain times maybe when they're running some of the smaller players or such?
Yeah, basically when the score's out of hand and you want to settle a few scores, you go after the guy you want to get, and
yeah.
If the game's out of hand, you can't win, or you're up by 5, you might as well get the guy. And say they run your goalie, you have to protect him, and your other goal scorers, for instance, Little Bolfie, who was our top player this year, I think, Ern Brownie and guys like that.
Yeah.
They're not very physical. Well, and if you see guys taking liberties, you just step it up and stick up for your teammates.
Now on the Knights, I know there was several players, including yourself, Kenzie Homer, Ritus Ivanons, Phil Esposito, several guys during the season that were really, really tough.
Yeah, Homer is one of the toughest guys I've seen, and Ritus is really, really tough too. Phil did his job well when he was here at the beginning of the year. He showed up every game for sure. Homer is definitely a heavyweight, and Raitis too. You should see the size of these kids. My God.
Now, the playoff series for the Knights this year against Adirondack, the Ice Hawks won the first 2 games, and the Knights came back to win the next 3. What was that like?
Well, really, the guys really stepped it up. We put our minds to it, and we came out, won those next 2 games at home, and took the game away from them in their barn.
Now, you got hurt in that first game.
Yeah, the game was out of hand, and I wanted to, like you said, settle a few scores, and I was in 2 fights, and the last fight I kind of broke my hand on a helmet or a head, or I don't even know.
Now, what was it like to have your brother playing on the same team? Was that the first time that you guys played professionally on the same team?
Professionally on the same team. His first pro game, he played for Syracuse, and I played for Carolina, and that was the first time we played against each other in the pro hockey, but that was the first time we played together.
He played very well this season, too.
Yeah, he had an outstanding playoffs. Normally he gets out of hand and plays a lot like I do, and I think he should tone it down a bit and play hockey, because he can. He's definitely skilled enough and can skate well.
He skates very well. He had a lot of penalty minutes, I guess, in the Western League before he came over. He was the league leader at one point.
Yeah, he led the league in minors, majors, and all those categories.
Yeah. Now, what's next year look like for Chad Cabana?
I'm not too sure, but New Haven's always a definite option, and I love playing here.
Well, great to have you on the show, and I thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
My next guest is New Haven Knights head coach Paul Gillis. Paul, welcome to the program.
Thank you very much.
It's quite an exciting season last year for the Knights, all the way to the Eastern Conference Final.
Well, I thought we had a very successful year. Obviously, we got off to a little bit of a late start because, management had a hard time getting everything together. But I thought the team did very well. We kind of went the way we expected. We were about 500 all the way through Christmas and made a lot of adjustments, had a lot of guys coming in and out. And then the second half took off and really played good hockey coming down the stretch.
Now, this year is going to be a little bit different as far as the travel.
Well, I think there's been a few changes, and I don't think that we've got as many long trips. There's some teams, our longest trips that we don't have to make anymore, so we're going to play a lot of the teams around this area quite a bit. I think it's going to add to the rivalries, and it's going to be exciting. And, I think when there's rivalries, games get aggressive and they get chippy, and there's a lot on the line, and I think that's what makes everybody happy.
Now, how do you go about juggling the lines from game to game when you have sometimes a guy in and out of the lineup and such?
Well, that's, you just get a feel for what you want to do from time to time, and I think a coach's job is to try to get the best out of as many players as possible, and if somebody needs a little kick, you've got to give it to them, whether it be dropping them from the lineup or not, lowering his ice time a little bit, but that's just an adjustment we make, and you get a feel for it after a while, and when you get to know your players, I think you figure out what makes them tick a little bit and what's the best approach for each and every one of them.
Now, you played in the National Hockey League for some 10 seasons with Quebec and Hartford.
Yep, started in Quebec, spent most of my time there, and actually had a little short stint in Chicago before I finished up in Hartford, and loved the area. Being on the East Coast, it's an area with a lot of hockey and lots to do with Boston, New York, so close. So I've really enjoyed my time here, and I think one of the reasons that we can put together a very good team is because of all the hockey being played in this area.
You've been pretty successful as a head coach in the UHL. You won the finals one year, and you were the runner-up another year.
Yeah, I've had a little bit of success. I ended up in the right place when I was in Quad Cities for a couple years, and had a very good team, won the championship, as you said, lost in the finals the 1 year, and then I think last year was just as much fun as that because, we started from scratch. We didn't have any players, and July 1st we didn't even have a team, and put together a team that was fun to coach, first of all, because we had a good bunch of guys. We had a hard-working team. We had a tough team, and we did well record-wise. So this was a fun year as well.
They seemed very well prepared every night, and they played hard every night.
Well, that's what we were going for. Again, we had a good bunch of guys, and when we recruited guys, that's one thing that we were looking for. We were looking for hard-working guys. We were looking for good guys that would be good in the community, good around the team. And if you set your team up that way, I think every night they will come out and play for you.
Paul, best of luck in the Knights' second season.
Thank you very much.
With me now is New Haven Knights player assistant coach Bob Ferraris. Bob, how's it going?
Great, thanks.
Now, you played in Mohawk Valley before coming to the Knights last year in the mid-season trade.
Yep, played there for 2.5 seasons. Last season they had some problems financially, and was able to come to New Haven under some great terms and to a great team.
Now, were you player assistant coach at Mohawk Valley last year?
Yeah, I was. I helped set that team up. We had a successful beginning of the season, started out successfully. Unfortunately, due to the financial problems, the success didn't continue, and I needed to leave.
Seemed like the Knights gelled right at playoff time last year.
We did gel. Like Paul had mentioned, we had a excellent group of individuals, which made an excellent team inside the locker room, and obviously it reflected on the ice with our success.
The Game 5 in Adirondack as a fan was unbelievable, and the Knights seemed to have it under control most of the way.
As a player, it was pretty unbelievable too. It was a lot of fun. Hopefully this year we'll be able to carry that type of winning spirit into a championship.
Now, was there any teams that the players themselves liked playing more than others? Was it maybe Elmira? Was there a big rivalry between players on that?
I think we had a bit of a rivalry with Binghamton getting the best of us a lot during the season. I came in here, halfway through the season, so there weren't too strong of rivalries. I think we were very intent on meeting Quad City in the playoffs. Due to some injuries, we weren't able, and some call-ups, we weren't able to do that, but that's the name of the game. Hopefully we'll be able to build a rivalry with any of the top teams in the league.
We hope to see the Knights go all the way to the Colonial Cup this year. Bob, thanks for being on the show.
Thank you.
New Haven Knights General Manager Angelo Mazzella joins me now. Angelo, welcome to the program.
Thank you very much, Kevin. Nice to see you.
Angelo, give me a little background on your experience with other teams before you came to the New Haven Knights.
Before I came to the Knights, I first started out in Spokane, Washington with the Spokane Indians and the Spokane Chiefs. I worked for Bobby Brett out there. From there, I worked out there for 2 years, moved down to Mobile, Alabama, where I started out and I helped start up the Mobile Bay Bears, the AA franchise, the AA affiliate of the San Diego Padres. After we started up that team, I moved over. I worked with the Mobile Mystics, and our company owned the team at that time. I went over there as a director of ticket sales. From there, I went up to Fort Wayne, Indiana, worked with the Fort Wayne Wizards for several months, and we got that team going. They had been playing, but they needed some help, so I went up to help out and run that organization up there. Then from Fort Wayne, I traveled back down to Mobile, Alabama, to go back and become the assistant general manager with the Mobile Bay Bears for the past for 2 years.
Okay.
And then from there, came up here to New Haven.
Now, you were assistant GM here last year, and then when Chris Presson stepped down, you became general manager.
Correct. Yeah, I was the acting the assistant general manager then I became the acting general manager. It wasn't the way I wanted to. I wanted to become a general manager, but I couldn't ask to become general manager of a better team.
Last year was very exciting for the New Haven Knights and their fans. What did you think about the season as a whole?
I thought the season was incredible. We broke the all-time points record for an expansion franchise in the UHL. We had 2 tremendous coaches. We had Paul Gillis, our head coach, and our assistant coach, Scott Bell, who is now the head coach of the Rockford Ice Hogs. Paul is just a tremendous coach. You couldn't ask for a better person to be on the ice with the guys, and just to see him in practice every day. He did play for the Hartford Whalers,
yes,
which is it adds a great element to everything.
Well, Paul played about approximately 700 games in the National Hockey League, and I believe he coached Quad City to the Colonial Cup championship.
Yeah, actually, Paul has yet to coach. I believe yet to coach a career where he hasn't made it fairly far in the playoffs.
Yes.
He's a proven winning coach.
Now, this year is 75 years since the startup of pro hockey in New Haven, dating back to 1926-27 with the New Haven Eagles of the Canadian American Hockey League. What is in store for the fans this year?
What we're looking at doing for the 75th anniversary is we're going to be doing 2 turn back the clock dates with the New Haven Nighthawks
Mm-hmm.
and the New Haven Blades.
I see.
Will be two there'll be 2 jerseys, and you'll see the replicas brought back. And then we're also going to do our St. Patrick's Day jersey auction that we did last year, and that's going to be an annual event for us. So it's, we have a lot in store for 75 years.
The UHL is adopting a one-division format, just one division for each conference this year?
Yeah, we're going to be broken up into the East and the West this year. And we'll, that's the way the divisions will be aligned. It's done to primarily help with travel and also help to build the great rivalries like we had last year with Adirondack. As you know, with the playoff series, when we went down 2-0 against Adirondack, we managed to go back and win 3 straight games. The final game being in Adirondack, where we moved on to the Eastern Conference Finals.
That was quite an experience, that Game 5 up in Adirondack, because I was up there for that game, and there was a pretty good contingent of New Haven fans there.
Yeah, it was unbelievable when I went up to that game to see all the fans that traveled and came to cheer, to root the team on and cheer everybody on to victory. It was just phenomenal. We couldn't ask for better fans.
Well, hopefully the second season will go as well and even better. And Angelo, keep up the good work.
Thank you very much. We'll try.
And now it is time to reveal the all-time New Haven 75th anniversary hockey team. At left wing, from the New Haven Blades, their all-time leading scorer, Ivan Shaw. At right wing, from the New Haven Nighthawks, Paul Fenton. At center, from the New Haven Nighthawks, number 9, Tom Colley. On defense, from the New Haven Blades, Don Perry. On defense, from the New Haven Eagles, Frank Beisler. And in goal, from the Beast of New Haven, Mike Fountain. And you always enjoyed listening to all the hockey action with your play-by-play announcer, Ron Romer. The head coach of the 75th anniversary all-time New Haven hockey team, Parker McDonald. And the general manager of the all-time New Haven 75th anniversary hockey team from the New Haven Knights, Angelo Mazzella. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is your all-time New Haven hockey 75th anniversary team. Well, that wraps up New Haven Professional Hockey, a 75th anniversary celebration. I'm Kevin Tennyson. Until next time, we'll see you at the rink. The power is there. You can be there in New Haven with the Nighthawks, New Haven Nighthawks. You can be there in the crowd, a part of the team, cheering out loud. You can feel it in New Haven with the Nighthawks, New Haven Nighthawks. Eagles, Ramblers, and Tomahawks, Nutmegs, Blades, and Nighthawks, Senators, Coasters, Beast, and Knights, all brought New Haven enjoyment on hockey nights. The Nighthawks, New Haven Nighthawks.